The top 3 teams that could sign him this summer. We'll start things off with just a macro perspective. So George had a solid first season with that Thunder team, averaging 21.9 points, 5.7 rebounds, 3.3 assists. More importantly, he had a largely fruitful on-court partnership with one Russell Westbrook. Now, he has to decide if he will opt in or opt out with the Oklahoma City Thunder. And all indications are that he will opt out, but who the heck knows? Maybe he really is in love with this team and he thinks that they can make some noise in the Western Conference. Now, there will be a 3-part documentary coming out. I believe the first part already came out in terms of George's intentions in free agency. And maybe that series indicates that his mind is already met and he already knows where he's going. Maybe not. I don't know. But I'll give you my 3 teams here. I will start off with the obvious one on the list, the Los Angeles Lakers. And for LA, they possess the ability to shell out 2 max salary slots, very enticing for PG13 and Bron. And then the Lakers have Magic Johnson, great leadership there. And Magic yesterday also said if he doesn't turn around this Lakers franchise within 2 years, he will step down. Now, that tells me that maybe Magic made that statement because he knows that PG is coming to town and he knows that LeBron is coming to town. I'm telling you guys, LeBron James is going to the LA Lakers. You can record this segment and then call me out on it on Twitter if LeBron doesn't go to LA, because he is. He just is. Now, for Paul George, the reasons are compelling to head back to Hollywood. Now, he's from California, Palmdale to be exact. He reportedly wanted to be traded to LA from the Indiana Pacers, and the Lakers have some 61.8 projected salary cap space, more than enough for George and another big-time free agent, LeBron James. So the argument is so compelling for LA that maybe I shouldn't even talk about the next 2 teams on my list, but I will just in case. And the Lakers just make so much sense, and I bet LeBron makes his decision first, and then Paul George goes ahead and announces himself. So, like I said, the order of decisions is LeBron, Paul George, and then perhaps we have Kawhi and Leonard trade news as well. Now, just going back to what I said earlier in the show, for those of you just tuning in to the Cam Rogers Show on this Wednesday morning, I projected that the LeBron James decision will happen on July 9th at 10 o'clock Eastern Time. Why is that? Because decision number 1, July 8th, decision number 2, July 11th, you average those 2 together, you get July 9th and a half at 12 o'clock, so noon Eastern Time. On my birthday, when I turn, what age? Did anybody guess in comments, by the way, what my age is? I haven't gone back and looked. I'll go back and look after the show. Keep hitting me up. I want to hear these guesses. By the way, I just shaved this morning, so I do look a little younger. Now, in terms of the Lakers, heavy favorites. We threw up the Vegas odds earlier. It's like the Lakers and everybody else in my eyes. You got the Thunder there. The Clippers at plus 575, probably the logic there, LA. And then you got the field. And I have a team within that field, by the way, that I'll get to in a matter of moments. But first, let's go to the Oklahoma City Thunder. I got to talk about them. Now, Mark Stein said that the Thunder have a very real chance to retain Paul George. And look, if George decides to leave the Thunder, things could get really dark for that franchise. They wouldn't have the cap space to pursue a free agent of similar quality, number 1. And they don't have the assets to really swing another big-time trade. So you have a team built around Westbrook, Steven Adams, and Carmelo Anthony. I don't know about you guys, but that doesn't really inspire a lot of confidence if you're a Thunder fan. So no Paul George means a step back for OKC. Now, like I said, there's been some buzz out there that George is considering a return to OKC. And obviously, PG and Westbrook meshed well together last year. Then they ran into the buzzsaw in the postseason, which is fine because When you have the Rockets and the Warriors in the Western Conference, sometimes you can run into a buzzsaw. But for continuity's sake, perhaps PG remains. And maybe another year of Paul George and Westbrook means the Thunder can play spoiler in the postseason, something we frankly expected from them last year when they brought in Paul George and when they brought in Carmelo. Obviously, that did not come to fruition, and I am very much in the stratosphere here of actually imagining the Thunder taking down the Rockets or the Warriors. I just don't think they can, but maybe Paul George thinks so. Back in April, George said he's happy with where he is. He's happy with his teammates. Now, that was April. Keep that in mind. And I guess assuming that none of that has changed in terms of his mindset, maybe he does indeed return. And he also made note that the result of this season wouldn't sway him in one particular direction. Not sure if I really buy into that, to be honest with you. Now, he could also opt out and could re-sign with the Thunder on a 5-year deal worth around $175 to $180 million, starting at just over $30 million in that first season. So he could just opt out, re-sign with OKC, team up with Russell yet again, and Melo, who opt into his contract as well, and boom, they give it a shot in the Western Conference yet again. OKC checks in on my list here for best teams to sign Paul George this summer. Team number 3 coming up, but first, a word from AutoList here. Are you looking for a used or new car out there? Tired of browsing a million sites? Go to Autolist.com to browse the largest inventory on the web, or download their top-rated mobile app for iPhone or Android today. All right, where is Paul George headed? Let's get to team number 3 on my list. If you are a betting person out there, maybe you take the field and you go with this team, the Philadelphia 76ers. So if PG goes there, this will not be a face of the franchise type of signing. He's not a face of the franchise type of player. He's a fantastic player, but he's not a LeBron or a Harden. He's just not. And they have Simmons there in Philadelphia, by the way. He's the face of that franchise. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Now, you got a core of Embiid, Ben Simmons, Paul George. That's pretty darn good in Philadelphia. And if you're Boston, you're shaking in your boots because now you have a big-time opponent in that conference. So the combo of Embiid and you got Simmons, like I said, Rookie of the Year, was enough for 52 wins in the regular season last year. Adding George would obviously, and I say obviously, create more wins for that squad there. And here's the other thing. I think one of the issues with Philadelphia last year was that they relied so heavily on Ben Simmons. And he's an on-the-ball guy, I get it. But maybe if Paul George is on the team, he can space out the floor a little bit. You don't have to rely on Simmons' playmaking ability as much. Now, George made 3.1 three-pointers per game last year at a 40% clip. Space out the hardwood a little bit. You got Embiid as a rim protector underneath, and you got Simmons controlling the game, essentially, game after game. And I think that's a pretty good core in my eyes. So in terms of the Vegas odds, the 76ers are not there as a favorite. It's LA in the Lakers. Then it's the Thunder, whom I just talked about. Then it's the Clippers. And then it's the field at plus 1,100 there. So, take the field if you think the 76ers make sense. That's just kind of how I see it. By the way, maybe Paul George could just be, I guess, 1B if they miss out on 1A, who is LeBron James. If they miss out on the LeBron James sweepstakes, maybe it's Paul George time. Now, like I said, I think Paul George goes to LA along with LeBron James. So Philadelphia is going to have to go to plan C, I think, which will probably be a Kawhi Leonard trade. So the 76ers had the third best defense in the NBA built around Simmons, Embiid, and Covington. Throw in a one-time member of the all-defensive first team into the mix, and look out. 76ers are going to be really tough to beat against those Boston Celtics in the Eastern Conference playoffs, which I would assume both those teams get to the Eastern Conference Finals. And probably one of them will be the representative of that conference in the NBA Finals, and then take on the Warriors, Rockets, or whatever the case may be. So there you go. My 3 teams for Paul George: 76ers, Thunder, LA Lakers. But he will be going to LA. That I can tell you.